Humans are a specialist species, and their specialty is all about explosives. Humans joined the Galactic Confederation as a junior member, as history remembers, in the Plastic Epoch. Sponsored by their close geographic and political allies, the Uzur, the humans contributed to the GC in ways that outstripped their fledgling resource production or their population growth. That's not to say that they turned the GC on its head. That would be utterly ridiculous. No, humans are a specialist species. Much like the insectoid Chitani, with their natural affinity for planetoid mining, humans benefit the galaxy through their own unique nature. Human politicians are competent at bureaucracy, but hardly are a shining light in the parliamentary floor. Their risk-tolerant mentalities make it painfully obvious that no human servicemen will ever rise above the rank of GC Major. They have no outstanding physical qualities that redeem them as shock troops in the event of violence. What humans have and do is far, far more capable and terrifying. The GC is no stranger to violent and warlike species. The parliamentary nature of the GC is a perfect political defense against aggressive cultures, and so the GC remains the stabilizing force in the cosmos, giving all worlds, species, and cultures a voice. Pervasive contribution from all walks of life, to build a better future for all. What this really means is that nothing ever gets done. Nothing is the greater motivator of political protectionism than threats to politicians. When a bureaucrat fears their life is in danger, somehow, some way, laws get passed in record time. It was the events of Galactic Rotation 56, Plastic Epoch, GC Session 3168, that highlighted the uniqueness of the human mentality. GC Session 3168 was in the midst of a day respite. After several grueling sessions of point and counterpoint, the political dance among the stars, all representatives were taking the scheduled break to socialize and attend one of the many galas that were the main social event on Capitol. The off-the-books deals that happened here helped the more involved species scrounge up political support on bills that were in the process of being voted upon. The music and ritual dance was a part of the multi-species culture amalgamation in the biggest melting pot in the galaxy. With every species having a permanent habitable zone on the massive space station, along with the associated support crew, staff, and security service, each species zone was a small city unto itself. On this revolution, the human delegation was in attendance in the Tigranian sector, along with several other member races, all posturing and positioning on the upcoming non-aggression sanctions against the Tigranian Empire. The Tigranians had recently annexed several garden worlds of mixed population on the border they shared with the Chitani. As aggression between GC members is expressly forbidden, the hot bill of the session was a series of economic detriments to discourage the Tigranians from pursuing this line of conflict. That was the intention until the message was received. Simultaneously, across the entire Capitol station, every message board, every tablet, every screen suddenly broadcast the same message. A masked face and altered voice yelled out a message in GC Standard. "Attention everyone on Capitol. We are your reckoning. At this moment there is a bomb in the Tigranian sector. We, the parasitic wasps, will reclaim every life lost during the Tigranian aggression. They took from us our worlds, and we will take from them their lives. The bomb will go off in 2 hours. Every non-Tigranian can leave the sector via the neutral zone. However, if a single genetic Tigranian does the same, we will blow the explosive instantly. Form an orderly evacuation, and everyone but the Tigranians will be spared. Fail this, and everyone in this sector will die. We will be watching." The message ended, and there was panic, chaos, and disorder at the Tigranian Gala, as different representatives scrambled for the exits, heading down into the streets, moving toward the neutral zone border. Massive crowds of 100 different species moved in waves toward the small diplomatic checkpoints on the neutral zone border. At first, they were overwhelmed, but soon the GC police showed up and began to organize the evacuation. However, any Tigranians found trying to leave the sector were turned back, at risk of slighting the faceless terrorists. As the evacuation proceeded, the human delegation reached out to the Tigranians. "I do not wish to be viewed as an ally to you or your aggressive species, Emperor," the human diplomat began. "However, I cannot sit idly by and let innocent people die. I am sending my personal security team to assist in the bomb disposal process. I hope that together we can save lives tonight." "Bomb disposal process?" the Tigranian Emperor growled. "We dare not do such a thing and risk the early conclusion of this terror attack. I am loading my people onto emergency shuttles, and when the sector is clear, we will jettison from the station. The damage to the sector will be reparable, but the lives are not. I am happy for any help that you can send to speed the evacuation, but we have no military unit involved in any sort of bomb neutralization." "You need not worry, Emperor. My people are the best," the human ambassador replied, terminating the communication. The bomb disposal unit, a team of 10 humans, 4 diffusers, 4 support team, and 2 K9 operators, were the only Sophonts to actively enter the Tigranian sector that night. They were the only individuals involved in the bomb defusal process. As the evacuation continued and the timer ticked down, the small human team did their work. K9 operators raced through the sector, finding and tagging a series of 10 explosives spread throughout the sector. The diffusers, in their anti-trauma gear, dutifully ripped open and tore into the bombs. The bomb clock ticked ever closer to 0, and the diffusing team moved from explosive to explosive, successfully rendering each device inert. Finally, they approached the last device, the shaped explosive charge pressed against a load support pillar in the Tigranian underground. Tom was sweating. He had spent the better part of the last 2 hours sitting inches from death, listening to the words of his handler as he cut wires, removed power sources, and rerouted timers. He was the team lead, and he was proud of his fellow EOD. They had done a great job in such short time. As the team approached the final charge, he turned on his mic and said, "All right, boys, I've got this one. The rest of you get back on out of here, in case those bugfuckers catch on to us, or decide to not play fair anymore. Get on back to the surface and the checkpoint. It's been an honor." With his final words said, he opened his kit and got to work on the explosive, the steady words of his handler coming through to him. The rest of the team withdrew to the checkpoint, anxiously waiting to see what happened to their sergeant. The clock ticked ever closer. With sector evacuation at barely over 50%, there were bound to be casualties. He pressed on, hands shaking slightly as he grasped his snips, clipping a few specific wires, before pulling a battery out of a socket embedded in a large amount of low-energy explosive. To keep his nerves down, he chattered idly with his handler. "It's like these bugs, or anyone else for that matter, never learned how to make real explosives. I'm staring at the equivalent of some plastic explosive from 100 years ago, and everyone is scrambling like it's going to punch a hole through the station." He sliced a timer display from the body of the explosive and cut the final wire. "Explosive inert. Situation complete." He keyed into the mic. He checked his mission clock and watched the last 3 seconds countdown. And boom, he said, silencing the alarm. Right on time. The transmission resumed, on every screen in the sector. An awful chittering poured from the speakers. "Too late. The Tigranians are going to pay for their aggression. Goodbye." The masked bug lifted a remote and pushed a large button on its face. Nothing happened. The bug pressed it again. Nothing. The bug cursed, and the transmission ended. A collective breath of panic was released. No one knew it at the time. Not one single civilian was aware of the bomb disposal team that had worked its way beneath their feet. But they knew they were alive and had survived the night. After careful review of the situation in a full parliamentary session, it became clear that humans were the only species to ever create an anti-entropic EOD military unit. Many of the aggressive species had EOD teams, but the answer to explosives was always evacuate the area and hit it with more explosive. Humans, and their love of explosives, ranging from recreational firecrackers to high-energy conventional missiles, were the only species to risk their own lives personally, to prevent a detonation. With their sacrifice at the forefront of everyone's mind, the human diplomats stepped forward to bridge the gap between the Tigranians and the Chitauri. In return for the public execution of the parasitic wasps, the Tigranians ceded the worlds in question back to neutral space. Human EOD teams became common on military bases across the galaxy. While training was offered all species, it takes a special sort of crazy to willingly walk towards a bomb. That special sort of crazy belonged only to the humans.